In a world where truth is often twisted, we strip away the illusions. Every wound has a root, every lie has a pattern, and every survivor deserves clarity. This is The Breakdown. Real talk, real recovery. Powered by the Church of Real Talk and the Now Movement. Stay powerful.
This is The Breakdown, where we dismantle the myths that keep you trapped and uncover the psychology of survival. Today's exploration: the false self, the mask we wear to stay safe, the performance we mistake for peace.
Hey, Minister Robinson here, Church of Real Talk, founder of the Now Movement. Welcome to another episode of The Breakdown. Facts over feelings, that's all we deal with here. We use research, we use studies, we use theories from great minds who have dived deep into this whole narcissistic abuse thing. Now, last month, we spent all of the month dismantling the mask. We're taking a different tack. We're taking a different phase. With November, we're breaking free. We're giving people the tools that they need to break free from domestic narcissistic abuse. Now, part of what we found is that this actually includes that whole thing about the black sheep. Until I started looking deeper into it and studying it, I think I just found out that the person that is considered the black sheep of the family is actually a victim of domestic narcissistic abuse. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the breakdown, the false self.
In the 1960s, British psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott introduced the idea of the false self, a mask a child builds when authenticity is punished or ignored. It's not deception. It's survival. The child learns to hide their truth just to stay loved.
So sometimes, just sometimes, the first betrayal that we experience doesn't come from the world. It comes from ourselves. We trade off our authenticity, the thing that makes us special. As a child, the thing that makes us special, we trade that off for the need to be loved. So it becomes a safety mechanism. We kind of stay silent. We kind of don't ruffle the feathers. We kind of walk on eggshells as children because we don't want to feel abandoned. We don't want to feel that that love has been taken away from us. So it becomes a performance. And sometimes this performance carries on into our adult lives. In fact, if you have been, as a child, your caregivers were narcissists, trust me, you've carried this on through your life. That's that split that I always talk about, where you either become a narcissist or you become an empath. I can think back many a time growing up that I ran into this a lot. I was like I thought I was the good child because I was very studious, went to school, didn't even try, just paid attention, got good grades. But I soon noticed from my caregiver that this wasn't acceptable because it took the spotlight off of them. See, if I was at a family function or a barbecue, I'll never forget this one time that people were testing my intellect because it was like, oh man, Junior is so smart. Just ask him anything. And I would give the answer. And I thought nothing of it. I thought that this was something that as a child would bring me admiration, would bring me love, would make me not feel abandoned. But to my caregivers, I was taking the spotlight off of them. See, these were things that I studied, things that I knew about. They had no input. So they couldn't take the spotlight for it. Fast forward a few years later, strained relationship, but always out of respect, always. Even as a black sheep, you believe that family is important. I started writing articles for the local newspaper, and I stopped by my caregivers' home, and they had the clip out on the refrigerator, and I said, "What was the refrigerator?" I said, "Oh, that's my article." And my pen name has always been L. Robinson for decades. And, you know, I thought that was you. I really thought that was you. I was telling my friends at work that had to be you. And it made me feel a certain way. Because once again, the spotlight was taken off of me. It was more or less to feed their ego, to be able to say that it's because of me that he's like that. And I think after that conversation took place, the relationship became even more strained, you know, because I always said I've had the same phone number for like 20 years. And I always said, well, if you were excited and happy for me, why didn't you just call me? Why didn't you say something about it? There was no benefit in doing that. It was more of a benefit for them to try to, I guess, take that away and make it theirs. And that's what children go through at an early age. You know, they just want to be good because children want to be loved. They don't want to feel like they're not loved. And what Winnicott actually talked about is love comes with a cost. And when you're dealing with domestic narcissistic abuse, that cost is to make sure that mask never slips, to always idolize that person, and always know that no matter what you do, you come dead last in their eyes. Strange, but we should move on instead of me going down memory lane.
Heinz Kohut believed narcissism isn't vanity, it's a mirror issue. The false self forms when a child's emotions aren't mirrored with empathy. They grow up chasing reflections, needing others to prove they exist.
You can spend your whole life chasing reflections that never look back. Until one day you just realize that the mirror isn't broken, you just have it facing in the wrong direction. Who remembers the class clown? You know, that guy and girl that just acted up constantly. You know, did nothing harmful, but they just had to have the attention on them. They had to have that spotlight on them. And for a child, this is kind of a red flag. And the reason why it's a red flag is because that child, and for a little while I was that child is showing signs of emotional starvation. It's one of those things that I had to, as I confronted my shadow, I had to look at all these aspects of my life, and I had to come to realize the reason why I acted the way I did for that brief time period was because I wanted attention. I wanted to be validated. Now, I had kind of a saving grace, and that's why I always talk about my grandparents. I constantly talk about them. Is because, especially now, as I realized that they were the mirror that I needed to look at. See, everything about them was making me feel emotionally safe. I think they sensed it that I was starved. I was not emotionally safe. I did not have that, I guess, the confidence in myself to be my authentic self. My grandfather actually brung that out of me. He would just sit me down in his little work area and just ask me questions and quiz me. And we'd have these deep conversations because in hindsight, he wanted me to live my authentic self. My grandmother was the same way. Not as intense as he was, but she was the same way. If I would start a sentence, she would notice that I would trail off because in the life that I actually lived, except for the summer, that life taught me to stay silent because I would be seeing it as bragging or acting as if I was smarter than everybody else. And who did I think that I was? And, you know, I'm not the only one that knows that stuff. But my grandmother, she would make it come out of me. They sensed it. They knew something. And this is why I always talk about them, because as I began to explore my shadow, as I began to confront my shadow, I soon realized that that's what they were doing. They were giving me that, they were throwing that life raft out there and saying, hey, listen, you can be your authentic self. In fact, we need you to be your authentic self. And we love the fact that you are being your authentic self. One of the things that I noticed about my class clown stage was, I think the reason why I stopped was because even though I was getting the attention or the validation that I was seeking by doing this craziness in class, I soon found out that it wasn't love. It really wasn't love. What I was seeking wasn't there. And I think that was the beginning of the bridge or the gap shortening for me to become an empath. And of course, thanks to my grandparents. But as I'm older, as I've gotten into this whole now movement thing, as I'm studying not only narcissism, but studying myself, it's always very important that you tap into yourself. Okay, emotional healing doesn't come from the fact that you understand what a narcissist is. You have to understand why you allow the narcissist to do these horrific things to you. You have to understand what was broken inside of you. Where was the crack in the mirror that actually let this person in? I'm going to tell you, I remember one time that I was acting bat-ish crazy in class, and they called my mother, and I was petrified. I was really petrified. So they took us to the little office, and I had a meeting in there with the guidance counselor and my mother. And my mother, all she did was like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you acting this way?" And the teacher kept on trying to divert the conversation by explaining to my mother, he's very intelligent, he pays attention in classes, just these moments. And I'm sitting up there, my mother didn't want to hear any of that. All she knew was I was acting up in class. My grades didn't matter, nothing mattered. In fact, to tell you how deep it went, when I was in 6th grade, this was before they had all these classes that, in fact, my stepdaughter, my stepdaughter, they got accepted into this where you get college credits in high school. In 6th grade, there was a program that actually allowed you to do high school classes in junior high school. And my mother said no. There was no reason. All the guidance counselors, my teachers, in this huge meeting was like, he'd be a great fit for this. I think this was the beginning of the program. Yeah, I'm old. And she said no. She didn't really give a reason. And they just kept on, trying to say, Mrs. Robinson, you should really consider this. And she just said no. And she didn't want to hear what they had to say, because once again, it meant that the spotlight would be on me. And that's the way I look at it. And this is not me being bitter. I mean, I'm way past junior high school age. I think I did pretty good for myself, but I think that was the moment that I noticed that this isn't the mirror that I should be looking at. And then it started a whole long cycle of craziness after that. But yeah, that wasn't the mirror that I was supposed to be looking at. There was nothing there. And what I was being punished for was I refused to reflect that image or that view or that illusion that was being given to me. And once again, going down memory lane. Let's move on.
In their world, people aren't whole. They're tools or threats.
So when we're looking at relationships, whether it be familial or family relationships, or they be partners like romantic relationships, the people in your life, okay, they have to be able to hold both your light and your flaws, the greatness within you, as well as the things that you struggle with, or you're trying to fix, or you're trying to correct in your life. This is us just being human. Now, here's the deal. If they can't hold your light and your flaws, they can either only hold your light or only hold your flaws. They basically have the potential to destroy the person that you are. And that is not love. I say this often. Narcissists, there's no gray line. Okay, you know, the thin line between love and hate. No, there's that they either love you or they hate you. They either idolize you or you're worthless to them in their mind. Okay, and this is kind of a bad thing for children, but it's just as horrific when it happens within adult relationships. Again, I say this often. Nobody signs up to be in a relationship based on the fact of, hey, let me just go ahead and destroy you. Let me just go ahead and make you feel worthless. Let me go ahead and, you know, make you feel like you're nothing. Nobody signs up for that, okay, except the narcissist, okay? Nobody will ever say, hey, I'm in a relationship. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. I want to marry this person. I want to do this. I want to have kids. I want to have a family. Nobody does that. And then we look at the flip side with children. Narcissists will have children, and these children are only used as trophies and pawns, okay? Until the narcissist decides whether this person is worthy of their love for that time period, or if they're worthless, that child just stays in limbo, not really understanding. I mean, they're even talking about my relationship. I have a great love for my children. My adult boys, they're grown, they're doing their thing. I'm very proud of them. I talk about them every chance that I get. You know, my daughters are young and impressionable, and I used to witness a lot of stuff that I would have no choice but to jump in. You know, and then I would hear things like, oh, you don't understand, this is girls, this is what, you know, women are supposed to be brought up this way. And, you know, at this stage, I'm getting to the point, you're not even brought up right. So how are you trying to impose these mindsets? What she was doing right in front of my face was, while I was in the fog, was she was setting the stage to make them reflect her. You know, I would look at crazy stuff like a child will be crying. Children are going to cry. That's what they do. That's what babies do. But there comes a point where you're just being cold and emotionless. You're not trying to stop the baby from crying. You're actually getting joy from the fact that the baby is in distress. And I'm not talking about being sick or in pain. I'm talking about emotional distress. And I would just come and, you know, just go get the baby, you know, hug and say, oh, you're all right, you're all right. And the baby, I noticed that what was happening was the baby didn't want that from me. Again, the mind craziness that narcissists do, the baby wanted it from her because the baby needed to be validated. And I watched this and I used to always speak out about it. I'm like, you shouldn't do that. You don't know what you raise boys. You don't know about raising girls. Again, I look back to the fact, like, you're not all put together yourself. You know, and this is why I go so hard right now. Actually, I'm being alienated from my children, but it's all good. Universe always finds balance. But, you know, when we see these things, it's horrifying, it's scary, it's above the scariest Stephen King book or movie you've ever seen. You know, the narcissist really there's no middle ground. And everything is based on what we dismantled last month. Everything is based on keeping the illusion of the mask. You know, there's this meme that's been going around recently, and it hits me every time I see it now. It's like, you know, narcissists don't want to parent. They want the children, but not for the reason that most people want children. That's our legacy. We want to see them grow up to be better than what we even imagined we could be. This is what most loving parents want. It's what my grandparents wanted for me. They wanted me to grow up to be even better than what they were, to accomplish more. Not with the narcissist. This is a tool. Either you serve a purpose or you don't. And that is going to justify the level of care that I give to you, that level of emotional care. Okay, one thing I can say is, you know, as far as outside needs, children were taken care of. You know, again, we had to keep that illusion. But as far as emotional needs, starvation. They gaslight your own kids. It's like I'm sitting there, I witnessed something. I saw it wasn't their fault. It was your fault. And you're trying to make them believe it's their fault. Again, this is why it's so important that we break free from the chains. This is why it's so important that we break free from the fog, because when you look at the narcissists, when you look at their flying monkeys, when you look at the people that are enabling this illusion, that are enabling this dysfunction, it's a scary thought. Basically, as far as everybody that's around that narcissist, they don't even know me. But as far as they're concerned, I'm Satan's firstborn. And what is the reason behind that is because I know the truth. I know the dysfunction. I pay attention to what was said in my presence. And you try to, at a certain stage, you try to say to yourself, well, I didn't grow up in that family. That's their problem. I'm dealing with my own problems. I'm trying to get through my childhood trauma. So, I can't pick up anybody else's trauma. But once the narcissist, the narcissistic caregivers, once those people, once the parent, the other parent of the children that is a narcissist realizes that the truth, hey, I'm just going to destroy your children, because that's the purpose that they serve. It's kind of sad, and please put it in the comments if you've gone through this. This is part of the arm of breaking free. The next phase of the Now movement is breaking free, because now I'm learning about legal ways to put an end to this. I'm looking at, and I'm not talking about personally for myself. There are people that are going through far worse. It's a horrible feeling that, the only connection that you have with your children is to be able to look at pictures, or in my case, I look at the little drawings that we did together, online. It's a horrible feeling, but there's people that's going through worse, where people just picking up, because the child is a tool. Everything in the narcissist's life is a tool. Okay, they don't look at human beings as living, breathing entities. As far as they're concerned, we're like ants in an ant farm. We serve a purpose. If I want to see you react when I put this inside your little tank, or goldfish, hey, I'm gonna put some food in there. Let me just sit back and watch you react. So yeah, that's part of the split. Is as those that consider themselves to be black sheep of the family, those that feel like they're in narcissistic relationships, the awareness that there was never in between. There was never, hey, these are my flaws. Your flaws are going to be used as weapons against you. This is my light. Your light is only good to them until you either see past their mask, or they begin to realize that the thing that they covet, they can never take. It's scary, it's dangerous, not only on a mental state, it can become physically dangerous. You're looking at a very fractured being, a very fractured, I'm going to say demon because I can't say entity. You're looking at something that is fractured beyond repair, because they choose not to repair themselves. So you have to be careful once you notice that a relationship is based, the love bombing stage, on nothing but pure idolization. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread, or where your flaws are making you the problem instead of, in any relationship, be it family members or a relationship with a partner, a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. When you notice that your flaws are being used and weaponized against you, maybe it's time to run. As a little kid, I ran away a few times. I really did. Let's move on.
They wear your empathy like armor and hand you their shame as a gift.
So let me give you a little truism. When someone attacks your kindness, something good about you, something that you're doing, it's really not about you. It's their shame. They're trying to throw their shame on top of you. One of the things that I've noticed, and many people talk about this, the cheating, the lying, the accusations of cheating, the accusations of lying, it's always your fault. And it would just come out the blue. It's like, oh, you were looking at that girl. No, I wasn't, you know? And it's like, what I found out later on down the line, that everything I was being accused of, they were probably doing. And it's crazy because they feel a sense of shame. That's why I always say narcissists know exactly what they're doing. They just choose not to correct the problem. They feel the shame. So instead of reflecting on it, instead of taking accountability, instead of fixing the problem, it's so much easier if they can just put it on your shoulders, make it your fault, make it something that you should be ashamed of. You find this with the black sheep of the family. You find this in romantic relationships with narcissists. Why do I keep on saying that? They're not romantic. It's an illusion. But you'll soon find that, and this is kind of their first sign that you have clarity, that you know what's going on, is when you stop reacting to it. Okay, there was a time period when, I'm just getting a drink. What am I supposed to do? Look at the ground while the person's passing me the drink? You know, and it became like everything that I did, I was being accused of something crazy. Like as far as, if I listened to them, I was cheating every day. At work, I got people laid out on the counter. I'm counting bodies every day I go to work. Not only am I getting a paycheck, I'm bagging everybody there. That wasn't the case. But in hindsight, as I look back, those times that they disappeared, those times that all of a sudden their phone was broken, those times that, oh, my phone is not working, well, wow, that says a lot. This is why it's important that you break free from the fog. Okay, this is why November is Break Free Month. Because if you allow it, it will never stop. It will never stop until they have put so much of their shame on you where you're walking around confused, and then they can say, yep, job done. I have completely destroyed this person. This person doesn't know which way is up or down, and I'm the cause of that. So therefore, I'm a much better person. The narcissist wants to reflect. Again, we're talking a lot about mirrors here, as Carl Jung would say. They want to reflect their shadow on you. They want to reflect their shame on you. They want to reflect their bad behavior on you. They know what they're doing is wrong. Again, I always have one of the, pep talks that I have at the beginning of every relationship, including the narcissistic ones, where, hey, listen, if you ever get to the point that it's not working out, just say something. I'm a big boy now. I can take that. And I would do the same for you. That was probably the worst thing that I could ever say to a narcissist, because the love bombing, they knew at that stage, hey, well, I got to make this super intense, or this piece of supply is going to move on. There is so much shame involved when it comes to the narcissist, as they try to covet the things that make you special, the things that attracted them to you. As they try to make that a part of them, as they try to absorb that from you, they soon find out that they can't. That brings a whole nother level of hate. That brings a whole nother level of accusations, because what they do is they go out of their way to make their little empty soul feel better. They go out of the way to do things that they feel will hurt you or give them more supply. So I remember I was watching I think this guy's name is Weed Told Me. If you know of his channel, go check him out. He says, no matter what you think, the narcissist is constantly seeking supply. They need supply from wherever it will come from. And when they feel they're not getting enough supply from you, or they feel that they've experienced a narcissistic wound where they've come to a realization that, well, I can't take this from this person. This person is moving forward. This person has potential that I'll never have. Once they realize that, they're going to go find other supply. I told this story in one of my books, and please stop by the Healing Library. Nothing but free audiobooks to help you get through this. I remember this time I was walking down the street with my narcissist demon, and this guy like walked past us, and he like slowed down, he like stared and made a funny face. And I was having a good day until that point. I was having a good day, and I was like, wow, that was kind of crazy. What was that all about? The response was, oh, he was trying to chat me up. I told him I got too many kids. So I looked, and I just paused. I stopped walking. I was like, you wasn't going to tell him that you was engaged? You didn't think that was going to be a response worthy of getting him to stop talking to you? Oh, what difference did that make? The answer I gave him was sufficient enough. I'm sitting up here and I'm saying to myself, again, these are little things that your nervous system is screaming at you. It's like, hey, dude, this is disrespect. And now that in hindsight, after looking back at the look on the face, I'm like, he seemed as if he knew that you had somebody, he just didn't know it was me. So that left the door open and said, oh yeah, you're out there doing your thing. You're out and every time that you get the opportunity, you're trying to say it's me out there doing it. That's not the case. Again, we go back to the first thing, staying your authentic self, believing in yourself, trusting your nervous system, which is kind of hard to do when you've been love bombed, gaslit, and diminished during the whole relationship, but you're constantly looking for that imagined potential that this person can come back to the illusion that was the love bombing stage. So yeah, you start to realize, and again, you have to start listening to your nervous system. You have to start listening to reality. If you're being accused of stuff and it's constantly, and it makes no sense, I'm sitting in the car and it's like, I saw you looking in that car window. What are you talking about? There was actually one time where there was a person that had a car that was the same make and model of my car. And I looked over because they had like a bra. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was a big thing in the 80s, to get a bra for your car. And, I was looking at it, I was, in my mind, I'm like, I wonder how that would look on this car. And as soon as the light changed, I'm moving forward, and then all I hear is, I saw you looking at I don't even know what that was in the car. I'm looking at, and I explained what I was doing. Mistake number one, okay? They just wanted the reaction. They knew that I wasn't looking. They're trying to hide their shame, and I made a video about this before, about constantly freaking reacting to the craziness. This is all they want. They want the back and forth. They want the argument, because what it does is it makes their shame go down. It makes them not have to deal with their shame. At the end of the day, they are demons, but they are well aware of what it is that they're doing. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the next section.
Carl Jung warned that what we refuse to face within ourselves becomes our shadow. The narcissist's tragedy is that they never meet theirs. They become it. Their false self is the shadow in full control.
So, let me get this straight, okay? You can't heal from what you hide from. And if you haven't figured it out from this breakdown, we all have a shadow, okay? We all, in a sense, wear masks. We use masks to protect ourselves from further hurt and pain. We use masks to gain validation from those around us. In the case of the black sheep of the family, as they're growing up, they want that love and emotional security from their caregivers. As far as relationships, as empaths, we want to be loved. We want to capture the love that we feel that we missed at a young age. That's the shadow talking to you. And the predator on the other side of that shadow is the narcissist. They've embraced their shadow. They have decided that their shadow exists so that they can destroy, break, or diminish others to make themselves feel superior, to make themselves feel as if they are better than everyone else. They use their shadow as an excuse not to have empathy. I've told this story like 1,000 times. When it really hit home was when, as a photographer, as a videographer, as a person that loves just creating stuff, when I lost sight in my eye. And that hurt me to my core. Everything is running through my head. Oh my God, what am I going to do now? What happens if this happens? Yeah, I was doing the pity parade. I was. However, while doing the pity parade, you would think that the person that said almost on a daily basis that they loved me would have been there for me during this time period. All I got was, hey, there's other people who get along fine when they're blind. It has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with what other people do, has nothing to do with me. I am blind. I can only deal with my experience. Pain is relevant to the person that experiences it. Then it became outsourcing. Maybe you need to go to therapy. My question at the end of hearing that statement at least 4 times was, why are you here? That forced me to deal with my shadow. That forced me to ask myself, well, why are they here? And then it helped me dismantle the mask. The mask being the relationship, but I had to dismantle 2 masks. I had to dismantle her mask, but I had to dismantle my mask as well. Why did you go through this for so long? Why did you accept this batshit behavior for so long? Why did you accept the lying and the gaslighting? Why did you accept having stuff that on the worst day of your life you would have never accepted? The reason why I accepted it was because of my shadow. My shadow decided that, hey, listen, love at any cost. This person seems like a promising prospect. This is what you've been looking for. And this is where many survivors find themselves, trying to debrief that whole episode of their life where they knew better, but they never dealt with their shadow, and their shadow was actually driving the show. Now, no, our shadows are different. The empath shadow and the narcissist shadow are totally, completely different things. The empath actually wants to do good, but they want to be loved at the same time. They still want that emotional security. The narcissist, on the other hand, that's just a whole living, breathing shit show. You've got to start facing your shadow. Through the years, I have had to look at different parts of my shadow. I had to begin the process of taking off of those masks of staying silent, those masks of being accommodating, those masks of being there for everyone else, even if it was going to put me down at the bottom of the pile. Because in a sense, I think all human beings want to be validated. They want to be appreciated. They want to know that people see them. But again, the empath wants to be seen as a person that brings light. The empath wants to be seen as the caregiver. The empath wants to be seen as the lover. If you don't, and part of breaking free is you have to start examining those things that hurt you as a child. I explained some of those things to you. They really did hurt me. I think my first realization that I had to deal with my shadow was when my grandmother died. My grandfather, when he passed like a year before her. When he passed, I just saw him as always looking over me, and it hurt, but it didn't hurt as much as my grandmother, because she was, even though they both gave me emotional security, she took time to make sure that I had emotional security. And I thought that a piece of me was being torn out when she passed on. I still think I'll tell you stories about it. I know for a fact she still watches over me. There was a time period in my last narcissistic relationship where I think she was trying to warn me. She was telling me, it could have been my nervous system and subconscious trying to tell me, because it knew that I valued the opinions and the thoughts that my grandparents had. But I used to wake up and tell her, I just had a dream. My grandmother was there and you pushed me out of a window. And oh, that's just a dream. That's just a dream. But this is the thing that, I can remember this clearly. It's like every other day, wake up, oh my God, I just had the most craziest dream. I've got to go look this up and see what this is about. But yet and still, when I shared this with her, she was just like, just a dream. It's not a big deal. I think she knew that my grandmother was trying to tell me, Butchie, this ain't right for you. This is not what you need in your life. And it could have been my shadow, because I had started to do the work with my shadow. Carl Jung said that until we face our shadows, nothing will change. We'll just call it fate. This is where we belong. Nobody belongs in a narcissistic relationship. No one belongs to be raised within a narcissistic family. No one. Because you find yourself in a position where people are trying to superimpose their mirror, their shadow on you, and they're not going to stop until you accept it. And then once you accept it, they discard you. This month, I can't say this enough. Stay locked in. Stay locked in. I'll be doing lives. I'll be doing a whole bunch of stuff to help people break free. Again, the reason why I do this, the reason why the Now movement even exists, is because it's the empath of me. I don't want anyone to have to go through this at all. I want people to go out there and enjoy their life. And yes, we get caught up. It's like walking through the woods. You don't know what you're doing. You might get bit by a snake. That snake, that serpent, is the narcissist, and they're waiting for good people. They're waiting for good people to destroy for no other reason but to make themselves feel a little less empty. And then they repeat the cycle over and over and over again. We've got to break free. We've got to help other people break free. And that's why the Now movement exists. Stop by the Break Free page. We got Survivor Story Saturday. Be back next week with that. We've got audiobooks, we've got guides, we've got pamphlets. I'm going to start putting up affirmations. Anything just to help people get clarity. With that being said, I want to thank you for joining me right here for the breakdown. Stay in touch, leave your comments. If there's something that you want me to talk about, if there's something that you need assistance with, just leave it in the comments. I check my comments constantly. Send me an email. I think it's up above someplace. Just let's get through this together. You're not alone. The narcissist wants you to think that you are alone, but you're not alone. Trust me, you're not. With that being said, Minister L. Robinson, Church of Real Talk, founder of the Now movement. Keep healing, stay powerful, and the reason why I do everything I do, love you guys.
We hope today's breakdown gave you clarity, or at least a moment of peace to see yourself differently. Visit the Healing Library at thechurchofrealtalk.com for free tools, audiobooks, and guidance to keep rebuilding your peace, one truth at a time. Stay powerful.